how rapper T.I. bought back the block and rebuilt his community.
Atlanta rapper T.I. attended the ribbon cutting of his first affordable apartment development. It includes 143 apartments and 25 special units for homeless kids.
Picture this. You make it out of the hood. You beat the odds. And you finally have the money to buy your family the dream house. But when you go to buy it, the door gets slammed in your face. That's the real-life story of Atlanta's T.I., the owner of a house in the exclusive Eagles Landing Country Club. And they killed the deal for one reason. The neighbors made it clear they didn't want a black man from Bankhead moving in.
The owner wouldn't sell me the house because the neighbors was like, nah, we don't want no, like, we don't want no.
But they messed with the wrong one. Because T.I.'s response wasn't to fight for one house. It was to build 143 of them. He bought an abandoned Kmart in his own neighborhood and turned it into a community.
Checking on my development here on Bankhead, man. Right here used to be the old Kmart, Giant Food. Now we got affordable housing, 143 units going up, mixed-use community.
Creating a sanctuary for homeless youth with 25 of those homes. This is the story of how being told he wasn't welcome led him to build a home for those who needed one most. To understand the weight of T.I.'s mission, you have to understand the war for the soul of Atlanta. For decades, Atlanta's been called the Black Mecca. It's the city of Dr. King, of Outkast, of trap music. It's a city built on the foundation of black culture, resilience, and power. But while the world was watching the culture, developers were watching the property values. A silent hostile takeover has been happening for years. Neighborhoods that were the cradle of the trap sound, Bankhead, Center Hill, Grove Park, became ground zero for gentrification. You've heard T.I. put it best himself. Outsiders come in, prices go up. And the people who gave the city its heartbeat get pushed out.
They've been pushed out to the outskirts. And that, to me, that's a travesty.
Imagine being born and raised on the West Side. Your family's been there for generations. Your grandmother remembers when the streets were dirt roads. You remember when the trap was a way of life, not a subgenre on Spotify. And now, you can't even afford to rent an apartment in your own neighborhood because a new stadium or luxury condo development has sent prices into the stratosphere. As T.I. said, if you were born on the West Side, you should still be able to live on the West Side. You shouldn't have to move to Macon just because the city got too expensive. The stakes were never just about houses. This was about cultural erasure. It was about the slow, silent demolition of a legacy. If the people who created the culture can no longer afford to live in the city, is it even Atlanta anymore? Or is it just a hollowed-out replica, a museum of a culture that was priced out of existence? Before T.I. could become a real estate mogul, his entire world had to be shattered. This is the part of the story most people have forgotten. May 4th, 2006, T.I.'s at the peak of his musical career. After a show in Cincinnati, his entourage is caught in a violent altercation on the highway. Gunshots ring out, and when the smoke clears, T.I. is holding his close friend and personal assistant, Philon Johnson, as he bleeds out and dies. The tragedy broke him. As T.I. himself said, after that, he didn't want to do music anymore. The joy was gone. The king of the South was lost, searching for a new purpose. Driven by tragedy, he threw himself into a world of business. But this new path was a different kind of war. This wasn't the trap. This was a jungle of corporate giants. He'd walk into banks with multi-million-dollar visions, and they'd see a rapper with a rap sheet. So T.I. did what he always did. He bet on himself, pouring his own cash into the mission. But his money wasn't endless, and the competition spilled blood in the water. He was in a high-stakes poker game where the billionaires at the table had endless chips. Imagine the scene. T.I. had a key property lined up in Center Hill. He makes an offer. Suddenly, a bigger offer comes from a shadowy LLC, and the deal is gone. Another property in Grove Park. He's ready to close, but it's buried in so much red tape that by the time he can make a move, a corporate developer has already swooped in and bought the entire block. He was being outmaneuvered at every turn. He was in a street fight against enemies who wrote the laws of the street. Millions of his own hard-earned dollars were vanishing into a black hole of lost deals. The man who had conquered the music world was on the verge of being pushed out of his own backyard. And the promise he made to his community was on the verge of becoming a colossal public failure. So how does an underdog hustler beat the Goliaths of real estate? He uses an unfair advantage they could never have: street knowledge. This is where T.I.'s past in the trap became his secret weapon. He didn't learn business in a boardroom. He learned it on the block. He understood the city's rhythm, its people, and its hidden value in a way no outsider ever could. His entire strategy was a masterclass in this. As he said, you hear that a stadium is being built? Purchase something before the stadium is built.
This is right when I got the word that they were building Dome up the street. This is the first acquisition. We got this store, these two houses next to it. I never wanted a liquor store, but the plan here is to take all of the property that we have and we're going to develop mixed use.
While the developers were waiting for the Mercedes-Benz Stadium to be finished, T.I. was already on the ground buying up properties before the values exploded. That's a hustler's foresight. His first moves were strategic and sentimental. He partnered with Killer Mike to save Bankhead Seafood, a legendary spot where you could feed a family for $5, preventing it from being turned into a Starbucks.
The return of Bankhead Seafood.
Two famous rappers from the neighborhood are going to reopen it.
When Bankhead Seafood closed its doors, it was a shock to the Westside community. Rappers Tip Harris and Killer Mike plan to reopen the popular restaurant next year.
This is not my venture alone. I had the pleasure of working alongside Killer Mike. He and I purchased this together. This is his and mine.
And we're really excited. And to know that they're going to bring jobs to the area, which is extremely necessary.
How many times did you come by here and get some fish?
Man, more times than I can count. I just came and bought, it was the special, is what they called it. Give me the special. It was a container full of fish for like $5.99 or something like that. This is sentimental. It was a sentimental purchase.
And then came the ultimate full circle moment, the abandoned Kmart on Donnelly Hallowell Parkway. This wasn't just any property. His grandmother used to shop there. And as T.I. himself admitted with a laugh, he used to steal from it. I got caught stealing out of this Kmart right here. To offset the shame, I felt it was only right to invest back in the community by acquiring this property.
I'm gonna tell y'all a little secret, don't tell nobody. I got caught stealing out this Kmart right here. To offset the shame that came with that, behooved me to invest in the community by acquiring this piece of property. It's the least I could do.
This purchase was the first major breakthrough. It was a massive 8.5-acre lot that proved he could play in the big leagues. It was a statement. He wasn't just buying small lots. He was acquiring the power to reshape a significant piece of his own history. The kid who once took from the community was now in a position to give back on a scale nobody could have imagined. The Kmart property was the blueprint, but once that domino fell, the empire began to take shape. T.I.'s Buy Back the Block initiative was in full swing, leading him to invest over $2.7 million of his own money into buying up properties on the west side. But the Kmart project was the crown jewel. The total cost of the project would eventually balloon to over $26 million. To pull it off, he partnered with experienced affordable housing developers like the Vecino Group.
Checking on my development here on Bankhead, man. Right here used to be the old Kmart Giant Food. Now we got affordable housing, 143 units going up, mixed-use community. We about 40% done, man. We supposed to be done sometime next year.
The result was Entrada Westside, a massive multi-million-dollar affordable housing complex built on the ashes of the old Kmart. But this is where the story transcends a typical real estate deal. With his wife Tiny by his side, this wasn't just another apartment building. It was a purpose-built community with a fitness center, a community room, and even community gardens. The project created 143 units of high-quality affordable housing. And here's the part that shows the true depth of his mission. 25 of those units are specifically reserved for homeless youth, providing them with permanent supportive housing through Atlanta's Housing Home Flex Haven program. Think about that transformation. A place where he once hustled and stole as a kid, driven by a lack of options, was now a place of refuge for the next generation of at-risk youth. The mission, born from personal tragedy and defiance, had evolved into a policy-level operation that was changing lives. Let's pull this out of the world of contracts and zoning permits. What does this empire actually look like on a human level? It looks like one of those 143 families at Entrada Westside. Imagine a single mother, born and raised in Bankhead, who was on the verge of being priced out of her own city. Now, she has a safe, beautiful, affordable apartment, a block away from the street she grew up on.
I love it. Nice and spacious, nice and modern. It's perfect. Thank you. Welcome home.
That's the human impact. And the culture's taking notice. T.I. is now a respected voice, not just in music, but in social and economic empowerment. Remember his famous rant about the Gucci boycott?
The only reason Gucci had it because we made that shit hot. If we stop wearing that shit today, that shit tank, period. So if they don't respect us, our culture, our heritage, then why in the f*** are we spending money with them?
That wasn't just about fashion. That was his entire philosophy. Don't let luxury brands define your value. Create your own value. Own your own assets. That's the blueprint he's not just preaching, but living. What T.I. is doing is bigger than Atlanta. It's a scalable blueprint for Black economic empowerment. But for T.I., it's also about fulfilling a historic legacy. He doesn't see himself as just a rapper who made it. He sees himself as standing on the shoulders of giants. The shoulders of the giants that I stand on. That's the blueprint that they laid. Andy Young's, Ralph Abernathy's, John Lewis's, Dr. King. All of these people laid the groundwork for me to come here and continue the legacy of leadership, of entrepreneurship, of Black excellence for the next generation. He's part of a new wave of artists, like Mike Epps, like Slim Thug, who understand that the real flex is ownership. As he told his friend Killer Mike, if everyone does a little, no one has to do a lot. It's a call to action. So when you look at T.I.'s career, don't just think about Rubber Band Man. Think about the gated community that tried to shut him out, and how that rejection fueled a revolution. Think about the tragedy that nearly broke him, how he channeled that pain into a new purpose. Think about the seafood joint that he saved from erasure, the abandoned Kmart he and Tiny transformed into 143 homes. As T.I. himself said, what I'm doing right now, nobody in my family could have taught me how to do. He's not just building properties, he's building a new path. He's showing the next generation that you don't have to be born into wealth to create it. You don't have to move out of the hood to save it. And the biggest boss move you can ever make isn't dropping another hit record, it's buying back the block. If you're here for stories of hustlers and visionaries making real moves, hit that like button and subscribe to Hustlers in the Hood so you don't miss what's next. See y'all in the next one. Peace.